Woohoo! Hello, NFA, no fucking around, money mamas. Let's raise the vibe with some fun. Woohoo! It's where we are. Your little mind game. Yeah. I love hearing that passenger sound. It always gets me going, alive and inspired and feeling good. And welcome today to the very first episode. Oh, I didn't know that was going to repeat. To the very first episode of the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast. This is a super exciting day because I've had a podcast for a long time and it's back by popular demand with a different name. And today you're going to learn all about what the new podcast platform will look like, what kind of community that I'm building, if it's the right place for you, whether you're a woman or a man. And we're going to talk about how I cheated on my podcast with YouTube. I love this title. It just popped into my mind when I was on a trail run one day and I was going, man, I really lost myself here for a while. And I got completely distracted thinking to drop my podcast and do only YouTube. And then as I got into it over the last 10 months, I missed my podcast. And I had people emailing me saying, Amanda, what the heck? Where's your podcast? We loved listening to it. And something I really recognize is that some people love listening to podcasts and some people love YouTube. And often those aren't the same people. And so we're going to break all that down today after I talk to you about what you're going to get here. And, this can be filled with stories, inspiration, tips, you being on the journey with me being on the journey with you. One thing that I'm changing up big time from the last version of podcasting I did is having lives so that you can come in and ask me questions. And we're going to have parties and business breakdown sessions and all kinds of cool stuff, because my whole goal is to build a community around the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast of NFA Money Mamas. And so let me share with you real quick, what this podcast is going to be about is for you to develop tips and tools and strategies to up-level your mindset so that you can make an amount of money that really inspires and excites you from doing what you love to do in your business. And what that takes into account is having this up here, your mindset, your money mindset mastered, meaning that you're removing your money blocks and you're feeling aligned and you're getting clear on what it is that you love to do in your business, doing more of that so that you can manifest easier, bigger money. I call this your zone of manifestation. And I always think about how when we're doing what we love to do and we wake up to do it, we're like inspired, we're alive, we're taking daily action, and we're just like, yes, bring it on. And that's how I want all of you to feel as you're building your businesses. And so that's the type of stuff that you're going to get here. This is a podcast for you if you're a woman entrepreneur. Also, guys can listen. I don't know how many of you out there have listened to podcasts that are made just for women or just for men, and you're the opposite. Totally okay, of course. And I'm going to be directing it toward women because one of my quests in life is to empower women financially through their businesses, because I think that this is such a unique opportunity for women to become badasses and make any amount of money they choose and impact any number of people they choose through their businesses. And I am so in love with being on that quest with you, because it's what I've gotten to do in my own business, going from food stamps to building a 6-figure business fast and letting it grow every year. Every year I work less, I make more, and I have more fun. And that's what I teach here. And so if you're a guy, you want to listen, of course, plug in. I have lots of guys in my community too. And I'm targeting it toward women entrepreneurs. So you are a person also who will love this podcast if you're driven to build a business that you love, doing what you love to do and make money doing it. So you're looking for ways to refine yourself and refine your programs, your products, your services, charge more, know how to charge what you're worth. And you're really like, oh yeah, bring it on. I am building a business that's a long-term love and inspired joy. It's your inspired path. You're on a quest to really have your entrepreneurial endeavors be in alignment with your zone of genius. And that's where I'm really going to play in that field with you and help you get into that space so that you can have easier ways to make money and enjoy the process. You're also very heart-centered. I love working with people who have those huge hearts. And the drawback of that sometimes is that you get stuck thinking I shouldn't charge what I'm worth, or, it's more spiritual to give than to receive. And I'm going to help you break through those blocks, because That doesn't work, right? You can't burn yourself out over giving and undercharging and have the big success that you choose to have if you have that money block running. So I'm going to really help you break down your money blocks. So you're in the right place if you're somebody who goes, I'm ready to kind of face my shit. I'm ready to see what's holding me back from getting to whatever level of income and impact I choose to get to in my business. I want you to knock down those invisible barriers, that invisible glass ceiling, and I want you to break through to all of the inspired dreamlike levels that you at this moment might be wondering if are possible. I'm going to give you the tips and tools here every week to do that. And we're doing it together because I break through those as well. This side, I love spirals because you're always on a trajectory of growth that is spiral like. So I always call this the upward spiral trajectory of growth. It's not that you start on a quest and you go from point A to point Z and it's a straight line curve. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see me gesturing these things. But if you're not, if you're on the podcast listening, then what's happening here is that every time you learn and grow and it feels like you're at the bottom, you're scared, you might be stuck, you might be like, oh my God, am I gonna grow again? Then you start to expand when you really decide to lean in and face your shit, and you get to expand to the next level, and it's never ending. You're going to keep going. I keep going and you're going to keep going. And it's wherever you're starting from right now, we get to just keep expanding together. I love to be on the journey with you. So that's what this podcast is all about. You're definitely going to be someone who's interested. You're either really into it or you're curious about law of attraction and manifestation, because those are two things that I dive deep into, really teaching you the art and science of manifestation, because it's something that I've done in my history where I felt like I was completely lost. And I thought there's got to be answers. Like, where are the clues to the game of life that I can win and know? And I realized when I started learning about the law of attraction and manifestation that there actually is a rule book. It's called Universal Laws and really quantum physics, where you can plug into this and understand how to be prosperous. And I like the word prosperous better than success often, because success can mean many different things to people. Prosperity is about abundance. It's about fulfillment. It's about feeling good on every level. And that's really what we're building here as women entrepreneurs in the world, is creating a life, a business, a family. If you choose to have a family, it could be your chosen family, could be your pets, could be the friends you influence. Like, you feel good and humming on every level. You're raising your vibe and you feel alive through what you're doing in the world. That's inspiration. That's you being a magnetic fire, a force for the people in your life and for yourself, and really just expanding to that fullest potential and being in a community of people who help you do that. That's what I'm creating with the Women Entrepreneur Podcast and my NFA Money Mama community. You're also someone who's totally willing and ready to get aligned, drop your shit, face your shit, start to break through that inner critic beat up that can go on up here as you build yourself bigger and bigger. You're ready to shed that old skin. Like, I think about it as snake skin, where you go like, I'm ready to outgrow this old skin and burst into the next version of myself, and do that over and over and over again, and continue to shine my light in the world and make money doing it. I see a question coming in, so we're going to answer. And look at that there. Woohoo! Heather. Hey, Heather. She says, talking about my sacred geometry back here, and my tattoos too. If you're on YouTube, sacred geometry. Yes, sacred geometry. Nice to see you here, Heather. All right. So that's who this podcast is for. What you can expect is releases every week. So I'll be releasing, I'm doing the lives on YouTube so that people can come and ask me questions. These will be recorded and released on the podcast. And there'll be 2 a week. So one's going to be me doing a solo cast. I'm going to bring topics that are aligned with what you all want. So I'm really into growing a community around this podcast where you come and say, hey, I want an answer to this about money mindset, manifestation, scaling my business, getting in alignment with my zone of manifestation. And then I come here and share with you, and you can even come on live and ask questions. Then there's going to be a biz breakdown session release every week as well, where I bring people just like you. And I'm going to put the banner. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can actually apply to do this with me. And it's going to be under if you go to the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast, you can apply for a biz breakdown session and go on with me live. This broadcasts your business while also getting information, feedback, insights, brainstorming about how you can get more aligned to scale your business more quickly. And this is important because everybody needs those insights and those perspectives. And then it helps you get more exposure to other people while also having me help you scale your business faster, because I am a genius at doing that. It's my zone of genius. I love helping people break through what's going on up here in their mind and the things that are holding them back so they can get into alignment with what I call their zone of manifestation and make their money-making process much easier. So I really help entrepreneurs heal their relationship to money and break through things they can't really see or keeping them stuck, so that then they can accelerate their business growth. And the things that keep most entrepreneurs stuck, especially women: imposter syndrome, thinking you're not good enough, not charging what you're worth, overworking, over delivering, undercharging, feeling like you got to prove yourself, making way too many products and programs and services, especially if you're pre-six figure, thinking you got to do it all. And I really like to help you get laser focused in your zone of manifestation so that you can accelerate your business growth. Before I got to six figures in my business, I had one program that I promoted. And that wasn't like in the first few weeks. It happened after a few months. I'm like, God, I got to create one specific program. And when I did that and I started marketing just that, I exploded my business. And I want to teach you those strategies, whether you're, at the $50,000 mark, the 60, the 70, the 80, getting to 100, want to break through the next level. Those are the tips and tricks I'll bring you in the business breakdown session. So if it's interesting to you, go there now, go to thewomanontrepreneurpodcast.com, thewomanontrepreneurpodcast.com, and you'll see at the very top of the page. Oh, actually, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to add this in here. You'll see the website here. So it's at the very top here. You can see Get Your Biz Breakdown Session. Just click on that and you can be on the show, which will be really fun for you, me, and everybody who gets to participate in it. Here's a little bit of just streaming through. This is what you'll see when you go to the Women Entrepreneur Podcast. You're going to see what this show provides. Answers to questions like, how do I make more money as an entrepreneur? How do I make more money doing what I enjoy? What are money blocks? And how do I stop them? How do I use the law of attraction to build a successful or prosperous business? How do I charge more for my services? How do I get over fear and doubt to build a successful business? How do I set goals that actually work? And I call these manifestation-based goals and NFA style, no fucking around style, because you got to get into alignment to set goals that actually work, that don't cause you to just beat yourself up. We want to set manifestation-based goals that get you into alignment and have you inspired and taking inspired action. How do I scale my business without burnout? How do I sell effectively? How do I attract leads more easily? These are the types of conversations we're going to be having here. And I want to highlight, if you haven't listened to my podcast before, so it was called Max Potential Habits originally. The first episode was released in March of 2019. I have released, let's see, I wrote the numbers down because I was blown away by this. 216 episodes were released of both Max Potential Habits and Max Potential Money. And so tomorrow release actually is going to be tomorrow. And I'll show that here. So you've got tomorrow, the podcast will air. So every Tuesday and Thursday, there will be a release. And that'll be adding to this scroll right here where you'll see the first episode come up, because in October, I released the last episode of Max Potential Money. I took a break and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And I said it was the last episode. And then I changed my mind, which we're allowed to do when we build businesses. Sometimes I know we beat ourselves up about changing our mind and our direction. And realistically, that's just the way it goes. And you got to give yourself permission to do what's aligned for you. And it takes contrast to figure that out. So for me, I needed to cheat on my podcast with YouTube to realize I missed it. And then I had people coming to me and saying like, wait, where'd you go? I missed the podcast. And so now you're going to see this scroll filling up with the Woman Entrepreneur episodes. And if you're someone who loves to binge listen, there are 216 episodes for you to go back and listen to. In addition to that, on my YouTube channel at NFA Money, you will see 26 episodes of NFA Money Talks, which was interviews with six-figure plus entrepreneurs and conversations around how to scale your business. So I've got all kinds of awesome content for you. My goal and quest is to bring you information that you can take action on, because knowledge in action is power. So you can scale your business doing all the things I'm talking about: work less, make more, and have fun in your zone of genius, in your zone of manifestation, being alive and awake and inspired and looking forward to building your business, instead of waking up scared, feeling like you don't know what you're doing, feeling stuck, feeling like your money flow's not there. I want you to wake up and be like, oh yeah, my money is flowing in, and Dr. Amanda is helping me understand how to empower my relationship to money so that I can enjoy the process of building my business instead of feeling scared and stuck and alone. I am your family. I want you to think of this podcast as your family, your community, your connection to really, really enjoying business building, because it doesn't have to be drudgery. It doesn't have to feel like a prison. It doesn't have to feel scary. Sure, you're going to have moments of that. That's human. And I want you to feel like you have a place to land, a home where you can get answers to questions about building your business, and where you can enjoy the process much, much more. Because women are, I think the world is hungry for women entrepreneurs to create something totally different and new and exciting. And it is our time to be financial powerhouses, to be the shoulders, you know, when you hear the term stand on the shoulders of giants, I want you to start thinking about this as people are going to stand on your shoulders as a powerhouse woman entrepreneur. They're going to stand on your shoulders, and you get to be the giant, and you get to shine your light in the world. It's not just the men that do it. And this isn't anti-men in any way. It's just that historically we have celebrated men, and men have been, you know, historically started more businesses until recently. Now we got to go like, okay, bring it on, women. Let's powerhouse our finances. Let's become wealthy, independent, badass, passive income masters through our businesses, share our impact in the world, and really make a difference through our businesses and the gifts that we bring to the world. So you'll hear my inspiration. I love inspiring people. So you're going to hear a lot of that over and over again. Okay. So just know when you go to the Women Entrepreneur podcast page, there's a whole bunch of cool resources. I'm scrolling through it on YouTube. You'll also see access, of course, to the YouTube channel. If you're a person who likes to digest on YouTube versus podcast, these will be released on YouTube as well. So if it's podcasting for you, go to the Women Entrepreneur podcast. If it's YouTube, just go to NFA Money and you'll see episode releases there. Okay, let's get into today's topic, because I know that's why you're here. You want some meat, you want some juice, you want some inspiration. And I want to share with you some of the differences between podcasting and YouTube and why I decided to do what I did in this way. One of the things I want everyone to know is that it's okay to change your mind when you're building your business. And the way that you want to do this is by slowing down to speed up. And I've talked about this on other releases that I've made. It's so important for you to have weekly self-reflection time to question and understand, why am I doing what I'm doing in my business? And so for me, what happened is that I was going along with my podcast, and I wasn't getting a lot of engagement. The interesting thing is that I had a lot of people come to me and say, where'd the podcast go? But while I was doing it, I wasn't getting a ton of feedback. And so I felt like, and sometimes I was like, am I speaking to crickets here? And I know we all feel like this sometimes in our businesses. And I felt like I wasn't getting the engagement that I was looking for, because that's what really juices me up. Like, I'm not doing this just to hear myself talk. I'm doing this because I want to help you. And so I had some of that going on, and I started, watching a lot of YouTube, and I thought maybe I can get more engagement there. So that was part of me deciding like, hey, I'm shutting down podcasts to focus on YouTube. And in a lot of ways, I was narrowing my focus to expand my freedom by cutting out everything and having too much on my plate, and then revamping from a place of like, okay, what am I going to hyper focus on? So in 2022, at the very beginning, I decided, okay, at the end of October, I was moving into 2022, and I said, I'm just going to stop doing my podcast and I'm going to focus on building YouTube. And I did it for the last 8 months. And I put my heart, my soul, my energy, my effort, my money, and my time into it. And I think I doubled my subscribers, and I definitely grew, and I learned a lot. And I really missed my podcast, because to me, in a lot of ways, building YouTube and podcast are very different beasts. It's a different audience in some ways. I'm speaking to the same target market, of course, at this time it's women entrepreneurs. It's always been entrepreneurs, and it's always been people who are driven to succeed in building a business and who are driven towards 6 figures plus, or like full-time incomes that really have them being able to work from home, feel good about what they're doing, and increase their income over time. And so that has all stayed the same. And I realized, like, wait a second, podcasts, it's like long story form in certain ways. And what I started to notice was that when I'm on just a YouTube video and I'm thinking about it as a YouTube focus, I felt like fake. I couldn't get myself to like, I look at the videos sometimes, I'm like, it's not fake. It's just like, I knew all these like strategies in my mind about like hooks, and you got to hook people in 3 seconds, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And so as I'm doing the video, I'm thinking about all that while I'm teaching, and then all the people and I started to get overloaded with not caring in the same way about who I was sharing it with, because I couldn't focus on them and all of these rules at the same time. And I know a lot of us feel this way when we're doing content in our businesses. And so I started to not enjoy it. And I really had, in the last few months, I had this massive like revamping moment where I decided I got to slow down to speed up. And what I mean by that is slow down, take some breaks, ask myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is what I'm doing bringing me joy? And is this a foundation I want to be building? And I kept getting a no for my just YouTube focus. It was like, I'm not enjoying this. It's not getting engagement, and I'm feeling frustrated, and I don't like it anymore. And I decided to let myself do a couple episodes where I was just kind of free form and thinking more about podcast and audience through audio and storytelling. And I felt so good. And I realized that I had, quote unquote, cheated on my podcast and left it behind and focused on YouTube. And it taught me so much. And this is not to say, like, whoever's out there listening or watching, you can absolutely do both. It's just that the strategy is a little bit different. And so you gotta, I think, prioritize one over the other. And so I'm just pivoting back to focusing on my podcast audience instead of my YouTube audience. And I'll still be, of course, posting on YouTube. And I now know all the skills of growing YouTube. So I'm not dropping it. I'm just focusing my energy toward podcast audience. And the way I think about it is going like, oh, I'm thinking of people listening on the go. YouTube, you've got to you can listen on the go. It's just a little different. And the ads make it very challenging. If you don't have a premium YouTube account, you're going to get a lot of ads. And so it feels very different than if you just plug into a podcast and you binge listen while you're doing the dishes, while you're on a run, you're not as likely to do that with YouTube. And I'm realizing that my audience was speaking up and saying, hey, we're podcast people. We binge listen to podcasts mostly. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm hearing you. And so for me, that was how I made some of that decision. I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Polly. She is an incredible naturopath. If you're looking for one, reach out to her on Facebook or LinkedIn. She's saying good stuff. Thank you for being here, Dr. Polly. You are a rock star. She helps me with my health. I was iron deficient, and we did some really cool stuff to raise my energy and iron uptake. So she's a rock star, Dr. Polly. Okay. So those are some of the things. And if anyone has questions, if you're here live time, you can always ask me questions about the topic. So today we're talking about, I'm realizing I'm just scrolling along, the podcast airing tomorrow. So today we're talking about how I cheated on my podcast with YouTube. And again, I want you to think about this. Like, when I released an episode, I don't remember what number of episode this was, but it was the benefits of affairs. And it was after my partner had cheated on me, and I was looking at the benefits of the situation, because it's really important to always balance out perspectives. Instead of beating yourself up or beating the people up in your life, you go like, hey, there's benefits and drawbacks to everything, always. And so I learned a lot from, quote unquote, having an affair or cheating on my podcast with YouTube. I learned about what really jives for me. I learned about how I don't enjoy the confining structure of following a really templated approach to doing this right now, what I'm doing with you. I far prefer the freedom, the playfulness, and the fun of having a longer form conversation than the way that I was constructing it in my mind on YouTube. I got really rules based in YouTube, and I was like, I got to do the hook, and it's got to be in 3 seconds, and then you got to have the video look a certain way, and you got to this, and I wasn't enjoying it. And so the funny thing is now my YouTube will probably grow a lot faster because I'm not so constricted around it. And that's how manifestation works. When you feel resistance, you are expanding your time of manifestation. Okay. Resistance is the number one problem with manifesting quickly. Okay. So anytime you feel resistance, you're going to cause things to take longer and longer. And so it was like, as I was resisting, I just felt like I'm dumping money, time, and energy into YouTube and I'm not enjoying the process. Of course, it's not growing. That makes sense, right? If you imagine it as any relationship. Let's say I have a relationship with someone and I'm dreading hanging out with the person and I'm beating it up in my mind and I'm thinking like, I don't really like this. It's not going to be a great relationship, right? And that's what I was doing in a lot of ways with YouTube. So I was like trying to get myself to enjoy it. And anytime you say the word trying, you know there's resistance and stuckness. Whereas with podcasts, I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I feel like I could do an episode every single day and just chat with you and share with you and create stories and community. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. So those are some of the reasons that happened. I also want you to know not to beat yourself up when you pivot. Okay. A lot of people are afraid to give themselves permission to change their mind and what they're doing in their business. Now, you want to be conscious of not having shiny object syndrome and doing this every month because you'll never gain momentum. And you want to pay attention to the feedback of your feelings about things. I see entrepreneurs get the most stuck because they're listening to what other people are telling them to do and they're trying to do it. And I use the word trying intentionally here. They're trying, they're feeling resistance, they're feeling frustrated, they're feeling like this isn't in alignment with me. And then they don't grow their business as fast because they're not listening to their heart. They're not listening to their own inner guidance. They're not listening to what their people are saying to them because they get stuck in this train of thinking it has to be this way. And I always talk about this as shoulding yourself. You're shoulding yourself into something. You're hearing the people saying you should do this, you should do that. You might be hearing your parents say it from when you were a kid. You might be hearing preachers, teachers. You might be hearing current mentors say it to you. You might be shoulding yourself from negatively comparing yourself to people in your current reality. Like you get on Instagram and you see the big players doing this and that and the other, and you're like, shit, I got to do that too. But you're not enjoying it. That's never going to bring you prosperity in your business because you can't get what you want doing what you don't want to do. And so that's what started to feel like for me when I was doing just YouTube. I was like, ugh, not enjoying this. So I blew it up and here I am changing it up. And I feel so inspired about this. Like I couldn't sleep last week. I got back to that place of inspiration where it feels like, yes, yes, yes. And one thing that I've always been is consistent. You know, like I told you, I've released a total of 239 episodes since 2019, March 2019. So we're at August 2022. So that's in a little over 3 years, I've released 239 episodes. And so I've been very consistent and I've learned a lot in this process. So one big piece of advice that I can give to you is choose one platform that you feel really good about. One marketing, like broadcasting. I would say either a blog, a podcast, or YouTube, and do what feels most aligned for you at the current moment and powerhouse that until you build it to something that feels good to you. And keep going with it in your business and highlight it on one social media platform. Okay. So you choose a blog, a podcast, or YouTube and start powerhousing consistently. That is the key thing. I've grown my business to 6 figures plus because I've been really consistent. Even when I was figuring out if I liked things or not, I was consistent. There have been maybe 4 weeks where I haven't released something since I started. And that's because I'm like, hey, I'm going all the way. I'm 100% committed to you. I'm committed to sharing. I'm committed to caring. I'm committed to building my business and making an impact. One of my main quests is to impact 5 million people through NFA money. And so I've been very consistent. Now in that consistency, I've learned, oh, I do like this. I don't like that. I enjoy podcasting, but I wasn't enjoying interviews anymore. So drop that. Okay, now how can I tweak it a little bit instead of dropping it all together? And that was a big lesson for me in dropping podcasting. It would have been, I don't believe in mistakes because I think we learned from everything we do. So I can't say I would take it back. If I did it differently next time, I would slow down and tweak it a little bit instead of dropping it all together. I'm glad that I did. I learned a lot. And now I'm like, like, for example, I'm not quitting YouTube right now. Instead, I'm just tweaking it. I'm not like going, oh, now it's time to quit YouTube and go back to podcasting. I'm like, okay, how can I do both and in a way that feels completely aligned for me? So I want you to start playing with that in your business. So figure out if you're going to do a blog, podcast, YouTube, and then which social media platform are you going to promote it on? And, unlike, let's say, Gary V or people who say you got, like even Brendan Burchard, when I started learning, he was like, circular virality, you got to be here and here and here and here. And it really caused me to be overloaded. I mean, I was out there everywhere. That was why I started podcast and YouTube. And I was on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Be Connected. Like I had like a lot going on and I got overloaded and burnt out and it was too much. So I would say if you're pre six figures, and before you, especially if you don't have a team to delegate to, choose one media outlet and one social media platform and become a master of those and then add to it later. So for me right now, like I'm post six figures, so I can go, okay, I can have, my main focus is podcast. It's women entrepreneurs. I'm going to release it on YouTube as well, but it's my focus in the way that I think about marketing is on podcast. And then my favorite social media platform is Instagram. And I powerhouse those two, building this new community, because in some ways I'm back to stage one of my business. I'm creating a different audience in this rebranded way. Like, okay, now I'm focusing on women entrepreneurs who are ready to break through to six figures plus. So it's like starting back over it. Like, how do I build that community and get this new program to six figures and then add from there? So if anyone has questions, don't forget, you can put them in the comments. You can put them on YouTube. You can email me if you're listening on the podcast, and be sure to go to the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm going to highlight this up here so you can see it if you're on YouTube, the womanentrepreneurpodcast.com. You can apply for a biz breakdown session that I'll be releasing every week. The first one's coming out on Thursday on the podcast, Wednesday on YouTube, and it is awesome. They're so fun. We went through and we looked at her website and got her really focused, and you're going to hear that this week, and you can come on and do one of those sessions as well. So that will be, if you're interested in that, just go to the womanentrepreneurpodcast.com and you'll see at the very top of the page, biz breakdown session, and you'll get all the information you need for that there. All right. I haven't even been paying attention to how long I've been going. 32 minutes right now. So I just talked fast. I downloaded a lot of information into you. I'm so giddy with excitement about building this community around the Women Entrepreneur Podcast. I call you all NFA Money Mamas, no fucking around money mamas. And to me, what that means is you are a heart-centered woman entrepreneur who is excited and inspired to build your business to whatever level of income that really excites you and make huge impact in the world through your business. And that's the people that I'm attracting to this podcast. And, if you want to be here live to ask questions, this show is on Mondays. If you are more of a podcast person, go to the show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And of course, again, like I'm saying, I'm adding to the show that I had before. We're just doing a rebrand basically from Max Potential Money to the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast. So there's plenty there for you. If you're new to knowing that I had a podcast, you can binge listen to 216 episodes. And if you go back to my very first one, you'll see total alignment with what's going on in the podcast now. My inspiration, my joy, the reason that I'm doing this, going from food stamps to six figures in my business and feeling really stuck and disempowered in my past and feeling like I had no control over my reality and making decisions about my relationships based on money, what I did in the world based on money. I was freaked out about money. And as I've up-leveled my wealth consciousness and learned how to use the law of attraction to my benefit and how to be a conscious creator of my reality, my business has exploded. I love what I do to make money. I love my life. And I want every woman who gets attracted my way to feel that power, control, and in love with themselves, in love with what they do in the world, and that they have a magic wand to build their business from a place of inspiration and joy, and that the money just flows to them easily. That's why I'm here. So if you love binge listening, go back to the beginning episode. You could go to the very first one and listen to what I talk about there, habits, mindset, all the things that I still talk about today. And we'll just keep on this journey with you. I love to hear from you. I want to know your questions. I want to know what kind of episodes you want to hear, what topics you would like to hear about. And let's see, is there anything else? I'd say action step for today. I want you to ask yourself, and I didn't type this, I like to type this in the banner on YouTube. So action step for today is for you to ask yourself, what really gets me inspired? Okay, I'm going to scroll this across the bottom so you can, or this is going to be in the video if you're watching on YouTube. What really gets me inspired? Write down 3 things you're currently doing in your business to get you inspired and start doing more of that. So for me, what that came down to was I did a drop ad list and I was like, what's giving me energy and having me feel inspired? And YouTube was the opposite. It was having me feel drained and frustrated the way that I was doing it. And when I realized like I love podcasting, I don't know, I got so confused there for a while when I cheated, quote unquote cheated on my podcast. It was like, what the heck happened here? I got to go back to podcasting. I miss it. I miss podcasting community and I miss all the different things. I'd been on a lot of other people's shows, but I missed this right here, what I'm doing with you right now. And so I want you to ask yourself, what really gets me inspired? And I want you to write down every single thing in your business right now that gets you inspired. And then on the flip side, you could write down everything that's draining your energy and pay attention to those things. So the things that are giving you inspiration, do more of that. I don't care who's telling you what you should do in your business. If it's not inspiring you, you're fighting, you're facing an uphill battle. It's like pushing a boulder up a mountain. You are going to cause yourself to take a long time to scale your business and it's going to feel drudgerous. We don't want that. Okay. So ask yourself, what's really inspiring me and do more of that. And then on the flip side, what's disinspiring me or draining my energy, you can drop, automate, or delegate. Okay. Hang out with me more here. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and watch the next video in this. And until next time, NFA money making high fives. Mwah.